Hello and welcome everybody to a very special episode tonight. You're joining us for Sister Soul Sessions Legacy Kings. I am your host, Brittany. Very excited to be here. Tonight, we are celebrating the power of fatherhood, leadership, and love in action. We're not just going to be talking about being dads tonight. We're talking about building legacy, cycle breakers, and kings in every sense of the word.
And of course, I'm Brandy. I go by B. I'm the executive creative director for Sister Soul Sessions. And over the course of the next hour, we'll hear from 7 powerful men who are building brands, raising children, redefining masculinity, and leaving an impact for generations. So this is just more than just a panel, it's actually a movement.
Yes, and we're going to ask all of our viewers tonight, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, go ahead and tag a father or a father figure who deserves their crown today. And drop in the chat, what does legacy mean to you? We're going to go ahead and bring on our panelists. Go ahead.
All right. And so, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to our lovely panelists and just briefly just tell our viewers your name, a little bit about your business.
Okay. All right. I can kick things off. Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Deere. I'm a storyteller and advocate for financial literacy. I use my voice to inspire and uplift the youth. And I am the founder of Dream Big Publishing and the author of Teddy Makes Sense.
I'll go next. I'm David Gaines, CEO and owner of Applied Ascension. I use astrology, consciousness, neuroplasticity, and numerology and these tools to help people align with their path and their purpose. So, that's what I do. I'm a father, and you already know I'm a big advocate for Black women, Black men, and really, positivity. You feel me? So, yeah.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Kenneth Scales. I'm the founder and CEO of the Bowtie Billionaire brand. It's a men's grooming product company, really for the care and culture of our community. Also, I'm a proud father of a 6-year-old. He's going on 28. Also, as an entrepreneur, navigating, building a legacy while being in presence in the right here, right now. So I'm happy to be here and honored to share this stage with so many amazing folks.
Thank you. We just had someone else join, and I'm trying to add the other person. Hold on.
Were you able to add them? As I see someone is up here. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, in between time, gentlemen, I do have a question for you. What is a song that describes your fatherhood journey?
I'll go first again. The one that I can listen to all the time and it makes me think about my baby girl is Will Smith's Just the Two of Us.
Yeah.
I don't know what song for me. I don't know what song. Somebody go next. I can't guess yet. Give me a second.
The first song that cut to my mind is Dave East. It's always cool being your dad or something like that. I don't know the rest of the lyrics, but that was like, I'm like, okay, there's dad in there. That sounds like me and my son.
Love that. And we were joined by Chef Andre. If you'd like to introduce yourself, sir, and a little bit about your business.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Chef Andre. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama. I reside now in Dallas, Texas. Served 8 years in the Navy. Been all over the world. Food is my life. Food is my passion, my peace. I can go on and on and on, but so what I missed so far since I logged in late?
Everyone just introducing themselves, and then be asked for you to give us a song that would best represent your fatherhood journey.
Ooh. Lupe Fiasco, kick push. You just gotta kick push and keep going. You got some hard times, but you just gotta keep going. My father always told me, he said ain't no handbook in being a father. He said you're gonna make some mistakes, but when you make those mistakes, learn from them. So just keep pushing. Lupe Fiasco.
Man is Daughters by Nas.
Yep.
So just
All
call me.
right, yeah. That's dope. That's dope.
And I don't know who the other guest
I'm
is.
just gonna say, so who's the mystery person?
What was your rate in the Navy?
I came in as an undesignated fireman, and I hated it because they sent me to the catapult steam shop. So since I spent all my time on the mess decks, so I cross rated the CS.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I was a CB. So
Okay.
yeah. I
Oh
ain't
yeah.
never been on no ship. You know, I went to the desert all the time. So
Hey, hey, the CBs, man, y'all get all the respect. Y'all go out to the desert and build a town.
yeah. It's crazy for sure. Respect though, you know what I'm saying? You already know.
Oh yeah, yes sir.
Thank you guys so much for serving as well.
Thank you.
The ultimate sacrifice. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Indeed.
I
Absolutely.
wish I knew who the other person was, but that name is not something I recognize of anybody. So I'll just ask our next icebreaker here. What's one nickname your kids or family call you guys?
Uh, I go first on this one. I got a lot of nicknames. My grandkids they call me Grand because I ain't want to be called Paw Paw or none of that. Um, uh, my stepkids because I don't have any biological. They call me Pops Padre. Um, yeah, I got more nicknames, but nah. They
My
call,
Love it.
oh, and 3M. They call me 3M too.
3M.
And 3M stands for Money Making Mitts.
word,
Yes.
money making mix.
Nice.
Paid in
Okay.
full. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that.
Love it.
My grandma calls me, I can't stand it. She calls me Wheatie Heart Pie, just whatever. And my daughter, you know, my daughter, she says daddy so much that she doesn't even say the whole name no more. She just says Dai. It says DAI. She says it
Aw,
so
yeah.
much. So it's not even daddy no more. She made up her own word.
I love
I know on my end, my stepdad always called me Chub. So I'm like, I guess I love to eat. So call me Chub. And then grandmother, she calls me Poopy. And, I don't subscribe to it. Grandma, I'm older now. And then if I were to give my own self a nickname, it would be Pico Poppy because it gets cold up here in Minnesota. And so I'm like, I'm Pico Poppy Sr. Then my son is Pico Poppy Jr. So he loves his little Picos too.
it. Yeah, I love
And if I'm in Mexico with the family, they call me Alejandro. I don't know why.
Um, a family nickname that's followed me all throughout my life is Teddy. So as you can see, with my name displayed on the screen, TD is my initials, and my mother added the DY, and and so it's become a part of me, which is why I named the book Teddy Makes Sense. And so, and then as far as my daughter, Dada is the name she calls me. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you guys for sharing. I know that's a little intimate, but I appreciate it.
But like Kendall, my family nickname they call me Pookie Pie.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay, thank you so much for answering that, gentlemen. And so my next question is going to be, what's a dad flex moment you'll never forget?
Hmm. I'll go first on this one. If I'm being honest, mine was building a house for my family.
Yes.
When I would, cause like we're always, given that dream of being able to purchase a house, so being able to build one from scratch and witness how there was nothing on that property to a whole house that you literally built, to me that was just a whole flex. You know what I'm saying? And it was a different type of feeling because it taught me that anything is like you literally can do anything as long as you keep your positive mindset. So that's my flex.
Yes.
And man, I had to say the same thing for me. Like getting the house built from the ground up. You go on by and you just see all this dirt, and then you come back, you got the pipes, and then you come back, it's founded, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. They built my house in like 6 or 7 months, and I was
Same.
like, this is crazy. That was fast. So yeah, same thing. That was always a dream of mine to get my house built from the ground up.
That's real.
For sure.
Mine is a little bit different. One is just like security of having food in the refrigerator. Like growing up, we had to subscribe to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, fried bologna sandwiches. But I'm thankful that my son can go in the kitchen and like pretty much make anything he wants. Like there's no rules to food in my household, right? And
Mhm.
so you don't have to ask for permission. You just gotta wash his hands. But go ahead, oh wow, Dad, this ain't like where I'm coming from, from the other household. I'm like, I know. Go ahead. It's
Yeah.
yours. You know.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I guess very similar to Kenneth responds. Just providing a lifestyle that's better than your upbringing. Not saying mine was bad, but just continuing to better the next generation's experiences. Going forward.
Amen. True legacy building. I love that.
Yep.
Another icebreaker for you guys. What's one thing your kids do that reminds you of you?
Oh man. Woo. You know what? I always say that raising my son gives me the opportunity to raise myself over again.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's a lot of things. I'm like, oh man, like just his mouth. He just talks a lot. And he talk really slick. And I remember growing up, I used to get in a lot of trouble for talking slick, but I could back it up. And he can't back it up right now. So I'm like, son, you're gonna have to calm down a little bit. I know you hyped a little bit, but you can't follow up with your words. So yeah, I think that definitely reminds me of me. And he's very outgoing, so I could definitely, and he's not afraid to speak his mind. So I'm like, yep, there's my son right there. Yeah, that's him.
I love it.
I'm gonna go with my daughter shit talking. Hey, she like to play a game. She plays video games, and when she be playing Fortnite, she be like talking. She talk fast. So I'm like, all right, I can see where she get that from. That and just her competitive spirit, man. She's real competitive. It's like a silent competitive, but she's real competitive. So that's definitely where she get it. I can see that.
For me, the joking, the smack talk, the quick witty response. I'd be like, hold up now, where you get that from? You've been around me too long, first and foremost. And like my grandkids, they always try to check me. They always try to check me. If I try to weasel out of something, they say, no, Grand, no, we ain't doing that today. I was like, golly, y'all been around me too long too. Still.
I would have to say my daughter's like facial expressions and she's someone that's very observant, and I was told I was the same way when I was younger. So anyone that's new that comes around, she has to warm up to you, and so it's funny seeing a young girl that favors you so much, and then have some of those same just quality, different things about yourself. You're like, wow, it's funny how life works.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So last question. The last icebreaker is, and I need y'all to fill in the blank. Legacy feels like blank. Take your time.
Say it one more time. Legacy feels like blank. Uh, man, patience feels like patience. It's I say painful, not in a negative sense. It's just because a lot of what people see, they didn't see the process to getting there. And there's a lot of
Right.
shadow work that you're doing in the quiet spaces that you're in. There's a lot of times where you're having a lot of internal dialogue with yourself, and you're really becoming aware of your own thoughts. And you have to be responsible for not only healing your own trauma, but you have to be responsible for taking control of your internal dialogue. And you got to change that. And it could be painful because you're noticing these things about yourself that you weren't aware of before, and that could be uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
I would say definitely more uncomfortable. I guess uncomfortable would be the best term to use. Like legacy is uncomfortable, but it's worth it though.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. For me, legacy to me is the foundation. So with my legacy, I'm building a foundation so my kids and my grandkids and great grandkids and everybody can kind of like continue to build off of. So that foundation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For me, I feel legacy means planting a seed that I may not be able to see the full fruits of it down the line. And
Yeah,
I can see
bingo.
the roots.
Yeah,
Yep. I can see the roots growing. I can see, the trees growing, but I don't know what that branch will look like, 50 years from now. But I do know this legacy of teaching my son how to plant seeds, but also watering it and watching it grow for the next generation. We're gonna see the fruits.
Yes.
I agree. I agree with all the gentlemen. Yes, the word that comes to mind that, would sum up, what they've all spoken to is purpose for me. Legacy is purpose, is having those that come behind you, in mind, and you're driven to reach new heights and show them something new that's never been done before. Take those risks, challenge yourself, and have those uncomfortable conversations.
And it even makes sense what Andre said because he talked about building a house and he talked about foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a lot of correlation with those two ideologies.
Yep.
and I feel like everything that we all said, man, it just goes together. Like everything builds off everything what everybody said. So I mean, like that's everything was just right on point.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. Now that we have broken the ice a little bit, you've gotten to know our panelists, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty a little bit and ask them some more personal questions, engage a little bit. Kind of want to speak more about how you guys are all breaking cycles, right? We kind of spoke about that. A lot of you are building things that you've never seen in your own childhoods. So with that, when did you realize you were breaking a cycle?
I'm gonna say I became aware breaking my cycle just 2 years ago. I mean, we kind of, as kids, we knew, but we didn't understand what that feeling was. We just kind of was doing whatever, we were just being kids. But when you get to an adult, you start to become aware of certain things and you kind of feel yourself being a little bit different than everyone in your family. And that's very uncomfortable because you feel like something is wrong with you at that time, right? But when you get to this point and you start getting a lot of epiphanies and really spending time to yourself and understanding your own energy and your own thought process, you understand like, well, this is why I'm different because I'm meant to do this. And it's never clear, but like you have the image in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't know all of the colors, you don't know all of the aspects of that image, but you have the image. Right. So I would say for me, 2 years ago is when I definitely knew I was a generational curse breaker for sure.
Yeah, this is a dope question. I thought about, as I was raised, living in California, my parents, they a lot of substance abuse, a lot of people running in and out the household. And then when I got a little older, lived in New York, I saw a lot of the same. And I knew when I looked at all the men in my family that nobody really mounted up to anything. And I had to figure out a way to navigate, go to school, and figure out a way to trailblaze, because trailblazing is not the easiest thing. You're on the front line. We all been trailblazers and having to knock down trees that's been there for generations. And it came back around full circle like 13 years ago when I was able to purchase a house, and nobody in my family ever had a house. And so for me blazing that trail, now my whole immediate family have houses. You know what I mean? And so it's like stepping outside of the comfort zone. And I think part of building that legacy is that, and it gets uncomfortable. But that's when I knew I was breaking generational curses all at the same time.
Yes.
For me, I want to say I was in the Navy and I was stationed in Norfolk and I was just wilding out. I mean, I was wilding out and I came to the point where I was like, man, I got to get out of America. I got to get out of America. So I cross-rated to CS, and I went to A school in San Antonio. And my instructor, he said, "Where you want to get stationed at?" I said, "Man, I want to go to Japan." And he was like, "What?" He said, "Don't nobody ask to go to Japan." I said, "Man, I got to get out the States." I said, "Because I know what road I'm on in the Navy if I stay in the States." So going to Japan in 2004, being in a land where I had to just learn, like for the first time in my life, I was uncomfortable because I had to adapt to the Japanese customs and learn how to ride the train and learn how to speak Japanese. So at 24 years old, that's where I grew up and was learning to become a man. So that's why I grew up and just really became. And I was like, man, nobody in my family has ever lived in Japan, and I'm over here. So I'm calling home, telling my little brothers like, yo, like this is dope, man. Like this is amazing. Like, hey, when y'all get a chance, man, y'all got to get out and travel and see the world. And about I want to say like three years ago, and this is a conversation I had with my dad right before he passed. So the last time I saw my dad alive was Father's Day. I surprised him, and me and him we went out to Cracker Barrel, which is his favorite spot. So I'm coming back to his house, and he said, "Hey, come in the house. Let me talk to you real quick." I'm like, "All right, pop." So we get in the house, and he said, "I just want to let you know." He said, "You know, you're Sidney Portier, right?" And I was like, "What? What you talking about, Daddy?" He said, "You're the first to ever do it." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "You got a business." I said, "Well, Uncle Robert James had a business." He said, "No, that was a hustle. He was building cabins. That was a hustle." And I said, "What about Uncle Pee Wee?" He's like, "Nah, that lawn care was a hustle." He's like, "Boy, you got them letters behind your name." And I was like, "What?" He was like, LLD. I said, "Oh, you mean LLC?" He said, "You different." He said, "You're the first to do it." And he said, "And wear that proud because there's a lot of people that look up to you that you don't know. It ain't just your little brothers, your nieces, and your little cousins." He's like, "You have impacted a lot of people's lives." So like with that was big for me, you know.
And can I add on to that? Like, it's when he said he went to Japan, you go at such a young age, like we don't understand in that moment what we're really doing. Like we just want to get out of America, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
when we get over there, it's so uncomfortable, because we're like, 19, 20 years old and you're in a different country. You don't know what, like, you can't just leave. Like you in the military, like you can't just leave. You feel me? So I know it was uncomfortable, but there's a lot of people who look up to that. But we don't know it at the time. We just kind of doing whatever we felt best was for us. You know what I'm saying? So I respect that, man. It's for sure.
Yeah, it's like really, really, really being in a ground where you don't know nothing. Like the first time I got on the train, let me tell you, I felt like I was lost for 4 days. I Man, hey, I could not get back to the base to save my life. I kept getting on the wrong train because I wasn't paying attention to the strips. Like it was like a green train, a black train, and a train will pull up and I just get on it. And next thing you know, I'm on the train for an hour and a half. The next thing you know, I'm in Tokyo. Like, nah, this ain't it.
Bro, I
I'm
remember
supposed
I
to be
remember getting I remember getting to Kuwait for the first time. And man, I'll never forget getting off that plane at 3 a.m. and it was 96 degrees. I'm like, hold up. It's 96 degrees at 3 o'clock. I didn't know what I was getting into, bro. I was just like, so
I
yeah.
had that same experience. I had that same experience going to Bahrain. I get to Bahrain, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 115 degrees. It's like a
Yeah,
2 mile walk to the base. You got all your boot camp stuff, and then as soon as you get back there, they say, "Hey, you ain't got no room to check in." So I had to walk all the way back up to the front, and I was like, "I never should have joined the Navy. I hate this."
back. Back.
As far as myself, I would say doing the work, and that's really I guess me seeking therapy. Seeking therapy and doing the work, right? So taking the time to ensure that I am where I would like to be and who I would like to be, especially having a daughter, and I know we talked about it early on prior to the conversation kicking off, emotional intelligence and so many other parts, and just, so yeah, I would say that was a way of me breaking the cycle.
For sure. There's so many, especially speaking on the therapy thing, we weren't really taught that was a way of coping or healing. So, and a lot of you guys left home at a young age, just purchasing your own homes, things that you actually didn't have any blueprints for. And all of you managed to not only be the first, but, maintain that. That kind of brings me to my next question for you all. What's one cycle you refuse to pass on?
Man.
Making excuses and procrastination. Like you always want to say, "Oh, I can do it tomorrow. I got time." Like, nah, it don't operate like that. If you can say you can do it tomorrow, you can do it today. You can do it today. So start. Don't procrastinate. Because I can't remember. I think it might have been Les Brown when he said the richest place on earth is the graveyard, because there's a lot of people who died who dreams ended in the graveyard. So don't let your dreams end in the graveyard. So if you can do it today, go ahead, start on it, because hey, you can blink your eyes today and God's like, you know what, come on home with me, my boy. So start on it.
I guess something to kind of add on to what Chef Andre said, doubt. That's one that comes to mind. I refuse to have anyone tell my daughter that she can't do something. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm that example for her, and I'm gonna continue to be that example for her.
I feel like listening. A lot of us are millennials who grew up with a suppressed voice. So I think it's important for us to listen to our kids and listen to what they're really trying to tell us. So, I want to make sure that my daughter knows that I listen, knows that I understand her. So when we understand, we can better prepare and lead them right into that path that they feel is good for them. So I would definitely say listening and communication with kids, with my daughter.
Yeah, I would say just generational poverty. Thinking, in the mindset. I always have to tell my son, like, we have to continue to push forward. We have to continue to move forward. You can't self-talk yourself out of something. Like, you have to go out there and go get it, right? You got to go get it. And, with part of Legal and Legacy, I don't want you to get out the mud. You know what I mean? And, I know that because I had to get out the mud, and I worked so hard so you don't have to get out the mud. You don't have to feel like that, right? And so, but that I can't attitude and all that. I'm like, son, that's just the mindset. You got to just shift your mindset a little bit.
Sure. Thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah, great answers.
I think you're muted, sis.
So let's dig a little bit deeper. So this question is, how do you model emotional health and vulnerability?
Emotional health and vulnerability. I'm gonna say first you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself, because when you know yourself, you're able to understand other people's projections onto you, which is not your own thoughts. I think that's where it starts. And because thoughts are separate from your emotions, like we have thoughts that create emotions that influence us to take action. So I would say, know yourself, right? Take time to reflect and meditate, take time to yourself so you understand your own energy. And what that will do is that will, again, alleviate, not projections, but it's going to allow you to know when someone is projecting onto you. And I would say it becomes easier to be vulnerable at that point, because you understand vulnerable is a power. It's a powerful thing for you. And you're not going to allow someone else to, you're not going to shrink to their level. You're going to expand, because we've always been taught to, shrink around people that make us feel uncomfortable because they feel uncomfortable, right? But they're meant to be uncomfortable because we take up space. So I would definitely say meditation, reflection, controlling your thought process, and really taking time to yourself to understand your own energy, and that will take care of itself.
Love that answer. Anyone else?
Yeah,
What
I
was the
think.
question again? My bad, bro. What was the
Oh no, you
question
good.
again, please?
Of course. So the question was, how do you model emotional health and vulnerability?
Okay.
Yeah. When I think about that question, I always think about like my mom. She's like Tin Man, right? And so you never know what she's thinking. She never really showed her emotions. And so my father, he was the one that showed all the emotions. He, told us that he loved us and things like that. So I kind of modeled my parenting style after my dad. And now when I think about my son raising him, I'm always making sure that like I'm slowing down, taking time to really figure out what is going on emotionally. So he sees that daddy's actually talking to him, and he sees that actually daddy actually cares, and he also sees me cry, right? He sees daddy vulnerable because I wasn't able to see that for any man in my family. But also showing him and telling him that it's okay to be in tune with your emotions, and that you're not a computer, you're not a robot, and it's normal, for you to feel the way that you're feeling, but also just guiding him, through the process of his emotions as well. So,
Definitely, definitely. Something I'll add to that I thought of just now would be, I think someone mentioned it earlier. Listening to the child and not being afraid to admit your wrongs. Show that you're flawed. Being vulnerable in that sense. Like, hey, if there's something that I can do better, Daddy apologizes. Daddy's trying. Just trying to be, an example and show that, hey, we're human at the end of the day. So
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Teddy. So
Oh
we
man.
do have another panelist. And did you want to quickly introduce yourself before we move forward with our panelists answering the question?
Thank you for allowing me to introduce myself, and I apologize for the lateness of my appearance. Peace and power, good people. I'm Just Jay. I'm an educator turned entrepreneur, storyteller, unapologetic builder of legacy. I'm the patriarch of a beautiful blended family, 5 children, 4 grandchildren. And along the way, I'm still trying to run my businesses, multiple ventures, excuse me, like Goodwoods and LS Confessions. But beyond all the titles and the trademarks, of course, every empire starts at home. Even my time as a preacher, I would say your first church is your home. So balancing business and fatherhood is a task that is almost a rite of passage of manhood in a sense. And I'm happy to discuss it. I'm honored to be a part of this panel of other kings of legacy and this conversation. And I'm looking forward to gaining some wisdom and sharing just some insight of what I've learned along the way.
welcome, brother.
Thank you so much. And we'll let everyone finish their answers.
What's the question? What was the question? I'm sorry. Please.
No worries. The question again was, how do you model emotional health as well as vulnerability? And I believe Chef Andre was getting ready to answer next, I think.
I was still like thinking on it because my mind was just racing about the whole thing. Because my father, he told me at a young age, he's like, I got tough love for you and no love. Which one do you want?
mm,
And I was like, and I'm like 6 or 7. I was like, tough love, daddy, because I want you to love me. So that's when he just started like he was just teaching me the way. Even though I'm 6, 7 years old, but he was teaching me ahead of my time. So whenever I got to that point at 17, I can flash back and was like, oh, my daddy told me this. I was at 10, but as I got older, I understand like, okay, that's different. Like time has changed a little bit, but you can still have that tough love. But you have to show that vulnerability so where you can say, hey, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with being correct. So like what I do with my grandkids, we do like a little spelling game, and I spell the word wrong, and it's like, Grand, that's not how you spell it. And then they'll correct me and show me, so that way they can see my flaws, and they can help me the same way I help them with their flaws.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Amazing.
Can I just jump in, or I don't know if you're calling on, I missed the format. So if I could answer, I hope I'm not out of turn. I would say that I think it's funny. I grew up, my mom and my father got divorced right after I was born. My mom joined the church. So she told Dad, you got to quit smoking. We got to just change our lives. And Dad wasn't ready for that. So I often thought that the church had split my family. And so growing up, my dad died when I was like 6th grade or whatever. And so I grew up with, some people would say, without a father. And I used to sit in church all the time and listen to hear about God or whatever. And I was like, they were like, God the Father, God the Father. And I thought to myself, I said, I thought it was hard for me to reach out to God because of the context of God being the Father and my father being absent. But then it set up a dynamic for me in the thought of, well, when I get to have my family, I want to love my children the way that they say God loves people, since apparently he's the ultimate father, right? And so then that started my goal of trying to be as transparent with my thinking and my rationale and my process and my growth as I could be, as I then looked at my challenge as a father in being, how do I model what successful adulthood looks like, either for a daughter or a son? And my way for modeling that is not only, as Chef Andre pointed out, modeling how I deal with mistakes and how I deal with people correcting me, but also modeling how I correct myself, modeling my course changes, modeling when I am stressed and I did snap and I'm like, baby, you know what? Daddy having a real hard day today. Daddy is not handling this well. Daddy need to take a time out. It's not even you, it's me. Sometimes you gotta do that. Sometimes being a Superman is being the biggest part of being Superman sometimes to a child is letting them know that I too have kryptonite. You know what I mean? And then showing them how to deal with that. And so that's been my challenge. Just trying to maintain my transparency, trying to live up to the authenticity of who I am as a person with the ideology of who I need to be as a father and the expectations of what that looks like from other people. Right. And that's been the biggest challenge.
And juggling the different aspects. Because when it comes to men, there's so many different roles and they require a lot out of you. You know what I'm saying? Being a father is different than being a husband. Being a husband is different than being a business partner and all these other things. So you have to constantly be able to like switch them on and off, on and off. And when you're not, I don't want to say mindful, but us as Black men, we've never been taught about emotional intelligence and energy. Really how our energy is different and how our energy is interacting with other people's energy. So when we start to learn that aspect, it brings a lot of context and why we feel the way we feel in certain ways, right? So 100%, man, 100% what you said.
For sure.
Okay. So the next question I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, is what's the hardest lesson fatherhood has taught you?
I'll go. Hardest lesson fatherhood has taught me is that I am going to fail everybody. And that was a hard lesson to take because the first thing I set out to do was to fail nobody. And in trying to please everybody, man, it's just, you're always going to leave somebody left wanting. And I think, so the hardest lesson, I think, they used to present people with these scenarios, these hypotheticals, like, if there's a burning building and it's your wife in the house and it's your child in the house, who do you save? And your mama in the house, right? Who do you save? And, of course, we always go, I'm gonna save everybody, right? And that's our plan, right? To save everybody. And I think that we as fathers, I think we do try to save everybody. I think we try to save everybody, even if we're the last person in the building and we're throwing the last body out as the building crumbles on top of us, right? And I think the hardest lesson for me to learn was that that's not always my best service to my family. Like killing myself to try to make everybody work out is not always my best service to my family. Just running it all out and hoping it'll work out is not always my best service. Sometimes I gotta look ahead and go, you know what? y'all are counting on me, and y'all are counting on me in ways that y'all can't see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to reserve a little bit of power. I'm going to reserve a little bit of me and reserve a little bit of extra oomph, because when everybody's drained and all of y'all are wiped, I'm still going to have to come through.
Yep.
And so that's been the hardest lesson, learning to save some of myself for that fourth quarter, because everybody's going to be counting on me then. For real.
I was actually going to say that same thing. Like,
Wow.
because if you like, we're not taught that. Again, it kind of goes back to those aspects. We're taught to like be here for this person, be here. But then when you giving everyone 20%, 10%, 15%, and you don't got nothing, nobody's gonna be right because you're not right.
Right.
You know, so it's a paradox, because you want to do for everyone, but you know that that's not conducive. So you're going to have to know, you have to take a lot of time to yourself as a man and really reflect and meditate and understand. This is where you light on your purpose at, you know. But it's challenging, because when you're doing that, everyone is going to text you, everyone's going to mess you, hey, I need you to do this, or I need to do boom boom boom. So it's like you're getting pulled in many directions, but the true power is really in stillness. How can you sit with yourself while everyone is trying to pull you? Because they're not going to understand. And we have to understand that, ironically. Like, we have to understand they're not going to see it from that perspective. And we got to be okay with that. Like, you got to be okay with people not agreeing with you, not understanding why you need this time to yourself. You literally just have to make peace with it. It's not going to feel good, but you're healing a trauma that they don't even understand yet, but you kind of do. So just to expand on what he was saying.
Spot on, very much spot on. Something that I add. So I was watching an interview recently where the gentleman spoke on how he knew his father to be a provider, and I'm sure many of us can relate in that regard. That's the example that they set, right? Provide, you know. But when it comes to emotional intelligence, being emotionally available, we don't get that. You know, he spoke on how, you know, if he was looking for his father to say, hey, I love you, son, I'm proud of you, son, he may not get that. But if he know he needs him at 4 a.m, that father gonna be like, yo, where you at? I'm on my way. I got that father, sure. You know what I'm saying? May not say the words, but I know that if I need him at the drop of a hat, he gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? And fatherhood taught me that, you know, I myself can improve on being emotionally available for my daughter. You know, I don't think it's a coincidence that God blessed me with a daughter. So that's been a challenge, you know, and trying to get that, you know. So
yeah, girls are a challenge.
For me, I say patience. Because as a man, hey, I just want to fix it and go on about my business. Let me put out this fire real quick. I want to put out this fire, and I just want to sit back. I want to chill and relax. So that patience, cause just because I went in there and fixed it, don't mean that it's fixed. Because I didn't hear what the issues were with my kids. I didn't hear what the issue were with my lady. You know what I'm saying? I just fixed it so everybody can just be quiet. So patience was the hardest thing for me, because I'm like, all right, let me just get in here and do it and go on about my business. But patience it was hard to learn that.
Yeah.
And can I expand on that definition real quick? Because like I read this in a book. I don't know where I read it from. But patience is not the ability to wait. It's the ability to stay positive in the midst of waiting. And that was something I read in a book that really, really stuck with me, you know, so I just wanted to share that.
Man, that's good. I immediately thought about the commercial. It's an insurance commercial where these adults, they're turning into their parents, like, oh, don't turn into your parents. And so I think about that too as I'm raising my son, because he be doing some stuff, and I just be like, oh, I'm like, man, I sound like my mama right now, like, you know. And it's like unlearning those things and like trying to take a different Rolodex. And so like I'll be thinking like when he does something, it's like a Rolodex of things that go through my head. I'm like, okay, this is not a whooping. Okay, I don't want to whoop him. Okay, is this a learning mechanism? Okay, not a learning mechanism. And then, you know, it's like all these different things. So I'm pulling from the things that I know that work, but I'm like, okay, if my mom did this to me as I'm a child, or my dad did this, I'm like, nah. So I'm like, well, this was cool, because I know when I got in trouble at my dad's house, like, he was in the military, so he taught me and my brother to stand up straight on the wall. So I'm like, all right, son, you're gonna get this punishment right here, because I'm not about to take you to the other side. So I think the most challenging part of fatherhood is taking that balance of like from childhood and then not bringing it into not turning into your parents in real time, you know, and that comes from like the traumas that we dealt with as children, but also bringing it back full to the forefront of like doing something that, because I swear, like when I take my son around my parents, and you know, we bring all of our kids, you know, to grandparents' house, you should whoop them. I'm like, whoa, we got way more tools than whooping. We don't do that in our household. You know what I mean? Wait a minute. So.
You know, you bring up a good point, because I think when I first started parenting, I was trying to parent. I was trying to take the ethics maybe of my mom, but the practices not of her. Like I was like, I didn't like how she executed whatever. So I tried to parent how I wanted to be parented. And I thought I was doing real well, right? I thought I was just killing the game. I got these two little pieces of me. I'm raising them how I'm supposed to be raised. We're gonna have like the greatest thing ever. And I think that first assumption what I had was two little pieces of me. I think that's where I really got lost. I think that sometimes when as fathers, I think we are given what we wish we'd had and not paying as much attention to what this person is wishing they'd had. Does that makes any sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
We almost swing too far in one direction if we're not careful, you know, and that took me a while. Like I had to get reintroduced to my daughters because I was thinking they were one way because I had treated them the way I wanted to be raised. And by this point, I would be a certain way. And my daughters had learned something else intrinsically that I wasn't trying to teach. And what they learned was like messing up the whole lesson. Like they were like taking my game and just flipping it on me. So I said all that to say, maybe somebody else has been there. But I think, you know, the challenge, and one of the challenges that I think every parent faces, and people would say mothers face it more than fathers, but I think fathers face it too, is really trying to raise the individual we have, not the individual that we wanted, not the individual that we want it to be, but just really trying to raise the individual we have, taking their weaknesses and turn them how to turn those in strengths, and just, you know, shaping what's there and accepting what's there and then molding it into something fantastic. And I think that that's something my generation had to learn. And I was a slow learner, man. I was like, you know, 10 years into the game before I realized that I needed to switch my approach.
Got you.
So we did get a question from YouTube as well. Misunderstood Conversations podcast asked, what is some of you guys' fears when it comes to fatherhood?
Failure, not reaching my full potential as a father to my kids. So that kind of goes with this little quote that my grandfather always used to tell me. He used to tell me, "Fight for your dream like a drowning man fighting for air. If you're not willing to fight that hard, it was never your dream; it was a want." So like I live by that quote. I say that quote probably 10 times a day. So for me, I believe is that for me. Like that failure that pushes me to be a better father, a better man, a better brother, a better friend.
Yeah, I think, you know, I used to jokingly say my fear was like could be counted in how much therapy I didn't want to pay in the future years or whatever. But that was just my joke. The seriousness of it is I really, you know, I used to have lots of fears about it. And then I told myself I had no fears about it because I was like, look, I'm doing the best I can, and whatever happens, whatever happens. Ultimately, I think my one fear could be summed up that I fear doing anything that will make it difficult for my children to love others or to open their heart to the parts of the world that are still beautiful. You know what I mean? That's what I fear. You know, not hardening them against the ugliness. I think I'm doing that. Not raising them to peep game against all the foolishness. I feel like I'm doing that. I just fear that I'm gonna do anything that will impact or impair their ability to love openly and freely, and to just, you know, try to still believe in making connections with other people that make the world better.
Yeah. Just to add on to, you know, Jay and Chef Andre's responses, being a disappointment, you know, I pride myself on being someone that she can be proud of. So, you know, I work at that on a daily, you know, so
Yeah. My first fear was one, I'd never been a father before. And am I going to do it right, or what is the right way to fatherhood? And now I got this seed, this young man that I'm raising, and I'm like, how am I going to keep him surviving? Like, I'm like, my first real, I pray that I don't leave this man in the car seat, in a hot car. Like, I'm thinking about all these different things, but now I think my biggest fear is wanting him. I want him to be the best man that God created him to be, and I want him to follow his full potential. And if he strays away from that, um, I want him to get back on track, but I want him to do that for himself. You know what I mean? It's like continuing to instill those ideals, those instill those the power that we know that got us to survive. I want him to have that as well. And but thankfully he doesn't have to go through what I went through. And I know in this new generation, who knows what it's going to look like 20 years from now down the line, and it's the fear of the unknown. But I can't live in so far in the future, but all I could do is prepare for where we are for today.
So this isn't a fear anymore, but it was a fear. It was a big fear that I had to personally work with, and it came from the perspective of not being able to see my daughter, having my daughter taken from me, and not being able to speak to her, and not being able to control how she views me at that point. Because there's times like I notice a lot of men that are fathers, we go through these periods like where we have to be either without our kids, or like there's just some type of energy you got to kind of go through, and the control is taken from you. You literally can't do anything, and no one else understands that, but they're still blaming you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's that type of energy. I was afraid that my daughter wouldn't understand that part about me, but I know I put out a lot of positive energy. I've always been there for my daughter since, I helped deliver my daughter. So I understand that the divine's not going to even allow it to happen. And my daughter knows what love is. I've always been there for her. So that's why I'm not afraid of it anymore. But that was a real fear that I had to work on. That, and like, as when you have a kid for the first time and you're not sure about the relationship, there's a real fear associated with that. Because you don't know if you want to have the child. You know what I'm saying? But when the child gets here, you're like, I don't care about nothing else. You know what I'm saying? But the process to get to that point, you're going through influx of crazy emotions, like how am I going to be? How's she going to view me if we're not together? Is it really going to work? Is she going to take my daughter from me? There's so many different things going through your mind as a father for the first time. So those were real fears that I had to kind of work through. But the control, I didn't have control of that. I can just control my personal perspective and how I show up for her. And that kills fear. Because you know what you're doing. Consistency and preparation kills doubt and fear every time. So that was my fear.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen, for answering that question. I just wanted to ask, with everything you all just said, how do you actually refill your cup? How do you pour back into yourselves?
Do what you love, to be honest. Do the things that make you happy. Like, don't think about how you're going to get paid from it or what you're going to receive from it. Just do things you enjoy doing. Like, there's a lot of things where I started tapping into. I started playing a lot of basketball and sports, video games and skating and just stuff like that. Really think about what you did as a kid that made you happy, and revisit those things. And it creates space for you. Because if you ever notice when you're doing something you enjoy, you literally are not thinking about nothing else. Like, like when you get done, you be like, dang, like I really wasn't thinking about none of this going on in real life. So I felt like for me, that was a cheat code, was just revisiting stuff I did as a kid and implementing that some way, shape, form, or fashion in my everyday life. No matter if it's 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. But that is important because we have to be happy.
Yeah, I'm thankful that,
Go ahead, my bad, kid.
Okay. I'm thankful that. Okay, I got you. I'm thankful that I have the ability to travel, and see the world, and being able to provide that also for my son as well. I think another thing that I love to do is like being in nature. And so me and my son, we take, long walks. He's like, Dad, let's take a walk today. I was like, son, I'm flat-footed, son, but you know what? I'm gonna get out here for you. And another thing too, that I love to do, that is, it's kind of crazy, but I like to hang out in his room, right? I'm like, let's play with your toys. Like, let's get down on your level. Let's get on the floor. Like almost that play therapy, so he can see daddy from a different side. You know what I mean? And so it's the most incredible thing. I'm like, man, Spider-Man don't do all that. You don't got to throw Spider-Man at me. He ain't got to. Come on, man. He walk him over there. But no, it's amazing.
Me, I like to just take walks. Like I get out and just walk. Like yesterday, I walked 12 miles just to clear my mind because I had a rough morning yesterday. So I walked 12 miles just to clear my mind, and that's like my time for myself. And then too, like man, I'm 45. I'm a big kid. So anytime like my grandkids in town, oh, let's go play basketball. I'm sure y'all I still got it. I ain't got it like I used to, but to be out there at the park, we playing around the world. Um, probably a couple of months ago, I'm at the house and my grandkids. It's like, Grand, you was an athlete, right? I was like, was? I was like, I still am. It's like, we faster than you. I said, Deion Sanders said a cheetah ain't never had the stretch to catch his prey. I said, come on, let's go to the street. We're gonna go speed bump to speed bump. And I lost to my granddaughter. I pulled my hamstring, and I ain't ran since. So like that's for me. Like big kid, take walks just to clear my mind and relax, and that's how I recharge. And every now and then, I try to get on some Madden, college football, most definitely. So if any of y'all on the Xbox and y'all want this work, holla at me.
I'm gonna get smoke on that. I ain't played out in a minute, so I don't want no smoke.
Oh, can't hear you.
Mute.
Thanks, y'all. Sorry about that. That's a really good question. I struggle with that. I struggle with where do I go to replenish myself. It's usually not the same thing. It's usually just the feeling of depletion is usually when my first alarm goes off that I need to do something. And normally, what something like that looks like is just decompressing, getting somewhere, getting some stillness. I wouldn't necessarily call it meditation because my mind is never really that quiet. But maybe I'm watching something that's just playing in the background, or chess or pool. But normally, I think there are two things that replenish me, and that is teaching somebody something and seeing them get an understanding. That gives me energy. I know it's a weird thing, but it's just my thing. And the other thing is actually having something manifest. So whether that's like a game of pool or even a game of chess, just the ability to see something that I want to see happen, go from concept to materialization, that replenishes me. And that could be a workout. That's my battery. And if I can find something that gives me that sense of manifestation and accomplishment, then that'll charge you right back up, and I'm back at it.
I'll make it quick. 3 things come to mind. Going to the barbershop, getting a haircut, dialogue, fellas, therapy, and exercise. Exercise is something I've gotten back into. You have your moments where you're like, all right, I'm in it, I'm grinding, you slack off, you back to it. So yeah. So I think
and results, like he mentioned, he's really talking about results, manifesting something and seeing it, because like you're putting in so much energy into something and you want like your return and investment on that. So it's very important to see those results. And that's why like I even tell when we talk to like within our culture, we're always having this dialogue between Black men and women. What do we both want? And this is why like words of affirmation mean so much to Black men, because it's like a manifestation of us actually doing the right thing. So when we're told that, it's like it gives us so much energy in that moment. Like we'll literally go do anything you want at that point in time, for real.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, results is a big thing. You know what I'm saying, for sure.
Thank you all for sharing, because that is what legacy building is about. I heard a lot of you guys speak about lessons that you've learned for fatherhood and what you are now instilling with everyone. So that kind of brings me to a question just kind of about your past. So if you guys could have dinner with any ancestor or any person that you have, in your life now, who would it be and why?
My grandparents and my dad. Yeah. My mother, she passed away when I was 6 years old. Her husband, my granddad, I've never met him. He died when my mom was 12. So yeah, my dad 3 years ago, and my grandmother Lucille. So, and my granddaddy, and my dad's dad. I love to sit down with them and just hear some of their conversations and some of their ways of life, because they all was funny. they they hit you with some quotes and you be like, "What, granddaddy? You should be telling a 9 year old about stuff like that." Like, and then as I get old, I was like, "Oh, that's what he meant." So yeah, sit down with them, like my grandmother, she would eat, what I'm saying, collard greens. We're from the South. She would eat collard greens with her hands with the cornbread, and I had to realize, like, you can't do that in public. That's at home. So yeah, like, definitely those, man, those memories, conversations with them, man. That'll be a blessing.
Let me think. It's funny, right? I mentioned my father dying when I was really young, and he died. He was like 38 years old when he died. So one of my biggest problems when he died was I felt the loss of never getting to pick his brain. I'm 47 now, so I think I might have to school him at this point. But but I also didn't get a chance to know much of his family. So I think the people I would sit down with would be the side of his family that I never got to know, just to get a better sense of the other side of my makeup and background, whatever, you know. So that's what I would do, and I just, probably just get a better sense of where we come from. Honestly, um, I probably would just try to get some insight into wisdom to see how things are consistent between across the ages. But that's about it. That's about it. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm something similar. I would think my grandfather and my great grandfather, because I didn't get the opportunity to meet neither one of them. But I also, when I look back at pictures, they're both was very stylish. They always, I was told that my great grandfather always had his favorite red suit on. He'll put it on, and he'll come to the living room, play spades with everybody. I'm like, is this where I get my style from? Like, and I want to know, like, how did they get their style from? And like just having those rich conversations. And so when I think about that, leaving a legacy, like I want to be around for my grandchildren, my great grandchildren. And, and a lot of times we don't. I've always met all my grandmothers, but I've never met none of my grandfathers like that. So I definitely want to continue that trajectory of making sure that I'm staying healthy right now, take care of blood pressure, eating right, exercising, therapy, whatever it means to be healthy, so I can be healthy for generations to come. So, yeah.
I would definitely say my grandparents, my great grandfather, and my great grandmother. For sure, they both had an immense amount of wisdom, and we knew these people when we were younger. So when you get to the age we're at now, the age group, like, those conversations will be very, very good, because there's more of an understanding and more of a realness that they can have with you. So those two people, and I would say Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle is a person I've always admired. And I would just love to have, a dinner or lunch with him or something, and really just have great conversations about real shit.
Nipsey also definitely crossed my mind as well. But I'll say I was fortunate enough to have three grandfathers. One is still living, and two are gone. But I would love to sit down with all three of them again. And I would love to just talk to them now, be able to have a conversation about fatherhood now, being a father. And there were so many questions and so many things that I would ask them prior to that the conversation would just be so different now. And there are times where I feel like, man, I wonder what their advice would be. What would they be able to pour into me and tell me at this stage in my life? So
I love that you guys all said like your grandparents. I feel like even in this generation, that's something that we kind of are missing out on, where we don't have that. We used to like live really close to our families. Our grandparents even lived in our homes. And I know with my children, that's kind of something that's missed. There's some type of generational gap. So to have that wisdom, to be bestowed back on us and be able to pass that on, I feel is really important. So thank you guys all for saying that. Go ahead, Sid.
No worries. Thank you so much for that, sis. And I just wanted to tell you all are so dope, and I'm so grateful for your time being here and just having this conversation amongst each other. And with that being said, what is one piece of advice that you would have for the next generation of fathers?
I would say, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace because it's the kind of job that you're not going to get everything right. And most people aren't going to celebrate you when you do. And you just got to know that you made the best call you could in the time you had with the information that was provided. And you got to go to sleep with that. And you got to wake up with that. And that's just got to be what it is. You know what I mean? That's my advice.
That's real. That's real.
That's real.
Something I'll add to. It can apply to many things, but even in fatherhood, control what you can control. So I guess kind of going along with what Jay had to say. Hey, just control what you can control. So,
Yeah.
I would say consistency over perfection. Perfection is a myth because we have this image of ourselves that's always forever changing. We're always refining that image. So it's not necessarily something that you become. It's you being good with who you are and how you carry yourself. So consistency over perfection and patience. You got to be patient with yourself. There's not a perfect man, a perfect woman on this earth. When we're born with flaws. We're born imperfect. So be okay with those flaws, but also hold yourself accountable to doing the best you can within that image that you see of yourself. So,
yeah. I could piggyback off that too. Instead of perfection as well, I'll also add to it that it's about your presence. You are building that legacy. You're laying those bricks and those foundations down, and you're planting those seeds that you may not be able to see grow in the future. But stay present. Stay present. Stay right here, right now. Stay present.
Accountability. You got to have that accountability of that father. Because without accountability, you don't have nothing. If you fail, that's your fault. That's your accountability. But have that accountability structure. My granddaddy used to say, "You got two ears and one mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk." So that as well.
Waiting for it on mute back and talk. So thank you all for answering that. And we are actually going to close out. I said it was going to be an hour. We went a little bit over an hour, but it's a deep and meaningful conversation. And me and my sister just wanted it to just flow. But we do want to go ahead and close it out. So are there any last remarks, words, advice, words of encouragement that you would like for our guests and viewers to know?
I just want to thank you all. Just thank you, ladies, for this platform, for this opportunity, acknowledging us brothers and giving us a platform to speak. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely thank you for allowing us to have this platform because there's not a lot, right? And our culture is right now it's going through a lot. So we genuinely appreciate what y'all doing because again we don't get these flowers a lot and it means a lot for us. And I would just say for the listeners, man, like control your thoughts. And what I mean by controlling your thoughts is every thought that you have isn't yours, but you can control what you give energy to. So be mindful and aware of what you give energy to. And when you really refine and become a micromanager of your mind, there's nothing that's going to stop you. So I'll leave them with that.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank y'all. Oh, go ahead, Andre. You go first. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's your turn. It's your turn. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to thank y'all again for having us come on here, because like, we don't know each other, but guess what? We all got the same story. We all got the same story. So that there in itself is powerful. And for y'all to say, hey, we need somebody to come on, talk about fatherhood, talk about entrepreneur, and we was like, hey, we'll do it. And we got the same story. And that, man, hopefully, man, let's all let's link up, know what I'm saying, through Instagram or whatnot, man, and just see if we can get up. And ladies, hey, next weekend I'm having game night. Y'all coming up?
Yes. We are very close, so yes.
Hey, I'm in Houston next weekend, so I might have to, slide on down.
Yeah.
Pull up, man. Hey,
I just left Texas.
Oh, man, hey, we having game night. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing some of my gourmet chicken wings. And look, I don't even eat meat. I'm a vegan right now. You know what I'm saying? So, and everybody just come and just vibe, man, and just network. You know what I'm saying? Never know who you meet and see, man, and just chill and relax. And that's something that we as in Black people need to be able to do. Like, I ain't got to go to the club no more. I can sit in the house. We can sit down. We can chill. We can fire up the grill. We can play spades, connect fold, Uno, and whatever. And everybody just vibe and have conversations and a good time.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. I want to thank you, ladies, for having this platform. Thank you for allowing me to be on. Thank you for your patience with me, and just thank you for taking out time to make sure that Black men talk to other Black men, and that Black men are heard in our own words. Because a lot of times we got people out here speaking for us and speaking to us and speaking about us, but not a lot of people who are speaking with us or listening to us about what we got to say. So I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be on. And I'll be looking for whatever y'all do. Even if I ain't on it, I'll be watching, because it's good. It's good stuff. I appreciate it. Right. Fellas, I'll be checking for all of y'all, and we'll definitely do some collaboration, because I'm all about building. So I'm excited to see where we can fit this in. I'm like Voltron. We'll do something.
We're gonna do something. Man.
That's old school.
That's old school. I know.
I would say, ladies, thank y'all so much. Y'all know how I feel about y'all. Y'all holding it down for us. And for the gentlemen, Chef Andre, Just Jay, Thomas, David, even myself, I love y'all, man. Like, I don't have to know y'all to love y'all. And most importantly, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. And let's take some time to celebrate. Let's celebrate us, celebrate our successes. Let's celebrate. It's a time to celebrate.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah.
What's up?
Man, you be on it all the time. But I definitely want to give you all your flowers again, as I said earlier, and just thank you so much for your time. And to our viewers, today you have witnessed not only just power, grace, purpose, but a legacy in motion. And these kings remind us that fatherhood is not just a title, it's a calling.
Yes, for sure. And I want to thank each and every one of you. So thank you to our panelists for your vulnerability, of course, your wisdom and your presence here tonight. You guys did not have to take out the time, so I'm very appreciative to not only celebrate you guys, but to hear your stories, because they're all unique. But like Chef Andre said, we do share the same, stories and history. So I appreciate that. And thank you, every viewer, for joining in the conversation. I was kind of manning a few different places, so I appreciate it. So let's keep building, keep showing up, and keep honoring the legacy we're creating every day. Truly appreciate you guys. We're going to be putting everyone's links in each of the bios where this will be posted. You'll see a lot of snapshots from tonight's episode, because it was very empowering, and I really appreciate the vulnerability that you guys all gave. It was truly a blessing. Happy Father's Day to you all. And just thank you for showing up in every way that you do. You guys are true kings, and we truly honor you. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, man. Y'all stay blessed and keep grinding. 90% grind, 10% shine. You heard me?
Hey, save us some chicken wings.
Hey, what's up, man? You said with a 3.5 hour drive, man. I got you.
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And thank you all for joining another wonderful episode of Sister Soul Sessions and our Legacy Kings version tonight. For all of our kings that joined us tonight, make sure to follow. Like I said, you will be seeing all of their links and where they will be, how you can link with them in our later post. Appreciate you all. Have a wonderful night.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good night, y'all.
Peace.
Good night, y'all.
All right.
Good night.